Hello, Oscar. Oh, excuse me. Grandpa here. And do you recognise who do these antlers belong to then? Who do you think they belong to? Ooh, 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 it's Moosey. Moosey, you all right? I'm fine, thank you. Are you just waggling your antlers for Oscar? So there we go. Moosey's been good, and I hope you're having a nice day, and lots of love from Grandpa and Granny as well. And last time, remember, we had the first reading from the Playful Panda, and if you'll remember, there were some visitors in the giraffe enclosure, and there's a little girl, Amy, and she loved giraffes, and asked her if she'd like to feed Daisy. Zoe said she's already had lots of acacia leaves for breakfast, but I have an apple here that you can give her as a treat. Amy's mouth dropped open. Really? She breathed. I would love to. Zoe reached into her pocket and passed a shiny green apple over the fence. Amy clutched it, looking nervous. Just told you, it must be very scary feeding a huge tall thing as a giraffe, Oscar. How tall do you think a giraffe is? Do you think it would reach all the way to the moon and back? Something like that? Probably a bit much. Zoe reached into her pocket and passed a shiny green apple over the fence. Amy clutched it, looking nervous. Just hold your arm out straight and keep your hand flat. She won't bite. She's really gentle, Zoe promised, smiling at Daisy. Amy's dad pulled out his camera and started taking pictures as Amy held the apple out. Very carefully, Daisy bent down her long neck and sniffed the little girl's hand. There we are, look. There's Amy, the little girl, feeding the apple to the giraffe. I bet you'd like to do that, Oscar. Then Daisy picked up the apple in one bite and started crunching it happily. Amy gasped. Her nose is so soft, she whispered. Did she come from somewhere in Africa? Amy's dad asked. Zoe shook her head. Daisy's mum, Dolly, was rescued from Kenya. But Daisy was born here in the zoo, in the middle of the night. I was the first person to see her. Meep and I came to give Dolly her breakfast in the morning, and there was Daisy, already walking around. Oh, that's lovely, isn't it, Oscar? When Amy had finished giving Daisy her treat, her dad ruffled her hair. You'd better go and visit some of the other animals now, love. We've still got lots to see, he told her. How about the hippos next? We'll come back to see Daisy before we leave, her mum added. Amy grinned at Zoe. Thank you so much for letting me feed her. I loved it, Amy said, her cheeks pink with happiness. The family walked off down the path, chatting excitedly. Zoe waited until they were out of sight and sighed. That was close, she said to Daisy. I didn't hear them walking up to the fence. It's lucky we weren't talking. Daisy nodded, and Meep squeaked in agreement. And they might have guessed our secret, Zoe, the little lemur chirped. Zoe grinned. Most people thought her life was amazing because she lived at the rescue zoo. But there was something else unusual about her. Only this was a secret. On her 6th birthday, Zoe had found out that animals talk to people all the time. Most people just hear squeaks, grunts, roars, and other animal noises, like Moosey. But some people can understand everything they say. Lucky, special people, like Zoe. Wow. What's the next chapter? Chapter 2, a double delivery. Oh, there's some special birds, aren't they? Not sure what they are. Well, come on, Meep, said Zoe. Let's head to the otter enclosure. Mum said the babies are getting a new toy this morning. Daisy bleated gently at Zoe, who smiled. Of course we'll see you later, she promised, reaching out to stroke Daisy's soft muzzle. Frankie told me you've been playing chase with the rest of the herd, and I want to come and watch. I expect, Oscar, the Daisy's soft muzzle is like the soft muzzle of your horse that you ride. So Bo, isn't it? So I expect he or she has a lovely soft muzzle. Daisy bleated again and fluttered her long dark eyelashes. Zoe giggled and nodded. "Okay," she said, "if you're very good, I might bring another apple with me." The young giraffe grunted happily and trotted back to the rest of the herd. Zoe made sure that the gate was safely locked before heading down the path. It was a warm autumn day and the zoo was busy with visitors. Meep scampered along in front of her, darting nimbly through the crowds and along the top of the fences. Some people pointed and one lady gasped, "Look, that monkey has escaped from its enclosure." Zoe giggled. "Don't worry," she called. "Meep's not a monkey. He's a lemur. And he hasn't escaped. He's one of the most special animals at the rescue zoo. And he's allowed to run free." They passed the colourful kingfishers perched around their leafy lake home and the capuchin monkeys in their lush jungle. There was an especially big crowd gathered in front of the next enclosure. Luna was a beautiful Arctic wolf with a soft, shaggy white coat, a jet black nose and pale blue eyes. Last month her gorgeous cubs had been born, a girl called Stella and a boy called Sam. Look, there's the picture of them. Aren't they gorgeous? Oh wow, look at those two cubs and their mummy. Stella and Sam, they're the two cubs. Their home was a snowy clearing surrounded by a circle of pine trees glittering with ice, with a gap at the front for visitors to look through. Luna and Sam were curled up asleep together, but little Stella was wide awake and playing happily with her mum's fluffy tail. When she saw Zoe, she gave an excited bark and rushed up to the fence. Zoe waved at her. If the paths had been quieter, she would have stopped to speak to the cub, but with so many visitors around, it was too risky. A little further along was another beautiful enclosure, but this one was empty. It was full of bamboo plants with a waterfall trickling down a rocky cliff. 3 low wooden platforms were built in the middle, connected by ladders and ramps. This used to be the home of Su Lin, the giant panda. Zoe couldn't help feeling sad as she walked past the empty enclosure. Su Lin had died a few months ago. Zoe's mum had explained that Su Lin wasn't hurt or poorly. She was just very old. Zoe had cried for ages, but tried to remember that Su Lin had loved her life at the rescue zoo. She had been a gentle, cuddly creature, full of funny stories about growing up in China with her little sister Bai Yun. Zoe bit her lip and glanced at Meep, who jumped into her arms for a hug. They both missed the giant panda very much. And there they are in the enclosure, and there's the giant panda stand. And sadly it's empty now, but perhaps we're going to hear a story where it will be having some more animals, Oscar. The story of the Playful Panda. Once they turned the corner and saw the otter enclosure ahead, Zoe felt more cheerful. Noisy squeaks of excitement were coming from their riverside home. Zoe and Meep ran up to the fence and Meep scampered onto Zoe's head for a better view. Jess, the otter keeper, was holding a yellow bouncy ball above her head. The baby otters, Otto and Benedict, they're great names, aren't they, Oscar? The baby otters, Otto and Benedict, were waiting on the riverbank, eagerly bobbing their sleek little heads up and down. Then Jess threw the ball into the water, and with a splash, Otto and Benedict jumped straight after it. There they are, look. Otto and Benedict are jumping in the water, Oscar, after the ball. Whoa. And do you remember what colour the ball was? The bouncy ball? It was yes, that's right, a yellow bouncy ball. Otto reached the ball first and sent it high up into the air with a clever flick of his snout. His brother squeaked happily and turned a roly-poly under the water. That looks like fun, Zoe called, laughing. Suddenly Meep's ears pricked up. What's that noise, Zoe? The little lemur asked. Zoe listened. Over the squeaks and splashes of the otters, she could hear a strange honking sound. I don't know, Meep, she said, puzzled. It's a bit like when some of the geese caught a cold last year. And there's Zoe, look, leaning on the fence, listening with Meep, listening to try and find out what that noise is. Ooh, sounds very strange. Or when Oscar, Oscar the elephant, or when Oscar tied his trunk into a knot by accident. Can you try your trunk into a nose, Oscar? I think it could be a bit difficult. It's not the sort of thing to do without Mummy and Daddy there. Or when Oscar tied his trunk into a knot by accident, Meep suggested, giggling. I don't think it's an animal sound at all, said Zoe thoughtfully. Sounds more like a car horn playing a funny tune, but how would anyone drive a car into the rescue zoo? The paths aren't wide enough. Ooh, this is exciting, isn't it? The noise was growing louder now, and Zoe could hear the low grumble of an engine. Otto and Benedict were peering curiously over the fence, and in the trees above them a flock of wild green parakeets started squawking excitedly. Suddenly a huge gleaming motorbike appeared from around the corner. With another honk of its horn, it sped down the path towards them. The driver was wearing a big shiny helmet, a safari jacket and a pair of old-fashioned goggles. A white scarf was wrapped around his neck. Meep squeaked with joy and Zoe gasped. You know who it is, don't you, Oscar? Yes, it's Great Uncle Horace. With a screech of brakes, the motorbike pulled up next to them. Its number plate said Rescue 1, and it was covered with colourful stickers showing all the places in the world that Great Uncle Horace had visited. Attached to it was a bright red sidecar with the hot air balloon symbol of the Rescue Zoo painted on the side. A large and very grumpy-looking bird was perched inside it, her blue feathers fluffed up. Kiki was Great Uncle Horace's hyacinth macaw, and they went everywhere together, just like Zoe and Meep. Great Uncle Horace lifted off his goggles and beamed at them, his untidy white hair sticking out from underneath his helmet. There he is, look, on the bike, with Kiki as well. And there's some palm trees in the background. So Great Uncle Horace lifted off his goggles and beamed at them, his untidy white hair sticking out from underneath his helmet. Zoe, my dear, Meep, you little rascal, it's wonderful to see you both. I've missed you very much. Hooray, hooray, gooseback, chattered Meep. The funny little lemur found it hard to say Great Uncle Horace's name, so had made up his own version instead. We've missed you too, said Zoe, grinning. I can't believe you're home. Great Uncle Horace, we thought you were somewhere in Asia. I was in Asia, my dear, northern China to be precise, and I brought a very important delivery back to the zoo. Great Uncle Horace's eyes twinkled. I came as fast as I could, by boat and then by bike. That's why Kiki here is rather cross. We drove along some very bumpy roads, you see. Motorbike is not her favourite way to travel. Meep sniggered and Kiki gave a haughty squawk. The cheeky lemur and the proud old bird loved their owners, but they didn't like each other very much. Naughty Meep, whispered Zoe. Anyway, my dear, hop on, said Great Uncle Horace. Where are we going? Zoe asked. As she climbed onto the motorbike behind Great Uncle Horace with Meep on her shoulder, she spotted a large wooden crate tucked into the sidecar next to Kiki. What could it be? Great Uncle Horace had mentioned a very important delivery. Zoe's heart leapt. Please let it be a new animal for the rescue zoo, she thought hopefully. Well, we're going to stop there, Oscar. I think we might guess what the animal might be. Do you think it might be a panda? Well, we'll find out next time. Anyway, lots of love from Granny and from me, Grandpa, to you, Oscar, and to your lovely little sister, Annabelle, who I know you love looking after and playing with, and to Mummy and Daddy as well. And I hope you have a lovely day, and bye for now from us, and of course from Moosey. Bye, bye.